प्रणो देवी सरस्वती वाजेभिर्वाजिनीवती वीणामदित्यवतु गणेशाय नमः सरस्वत्यै नमः श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः हरिः भुवस्सुवः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात् भुवस्सुवः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात् भुवस्सुवः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात् शान्ति 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 Lord in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. Swamis Adonai Elohim Adonai Echad Adonai Echad Adonai Echad Hashem Bahu Hashem Asti Purusha Asti Purusha Amay and Hashai Marishai Hashem Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Buddham Sharanam Gacchami Dhammam Sharanam Gacchami, Sangham Sharanam Gacchami. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. La ilaha illallah, Allah, Allah. 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 Om Sarveshwaraya Vidmahe Satyadevaya Dhimahi Tanna Sarva Prachodayat. Om Sarveshwaraya Vidmahe Satyadevaya Dhimahi Tanna Sarva Prachodayat. Om Sarveshwaraya Vidmahe Satyadevaya Dhimahi Tanna Sarva Prachodayat. Om Srinivasaya Vidmahe Satchidanandaya Dhimahi Tanna Sai Prachodayat. Om Srinivasaya Vidmahe Satchidanandaya Dhimahi Tanna Sai Prachodayat. Om Srinivasaya Vidmahe Satchidanandaya Dhimahi Tanna Sai Prachodayat. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.
My humble pronounce the lotus feet of Bhagavan Sri Satya Sai Baba. Sairam, dear brothers and sisters. It is with great joy and reverence that I introduce to you our esteemed guest speaker on Swami's birthday, Brother Ravi Marivala. Brother Ravi Marivala hails from Mumbai and had the unique privilege of being in the divine presence of Bhagavan Sri Satya Sai Baba from a young age. He was blessed to be a part of Bal Vikas and Preet Sevadal, and he spoke in Swami's divine presence in 1979. And he spoke in 1979 in Mumbai and later at Parthi in the same year. This auspicious encounter ignited a profound desire within him to study at Swami's college, and Swami gave him this opportunity in 1982, and he studied there for 9 years. During his time at Swami's college, Brother Ravi actively engaged in various activities, including being a part of the speakers group, the brass band, and numerous service activities. He was also the blessed recipient of 3 gold medals for his distinction in Masters, MBA, and the All-Rounders Gold Medal from Bhagavan's own hands. The highlight of his time with Swami came when, after obtaining his MBA degree, Bhagavan had asked him to work as one of the first employees of the Sri Satya Sai Super Specialty Hospital at Prashanti Nilayam. Brother Ravi served at the hospital for 14 years in the cardiac surgery department, playing multiple roles, including serving as a full-time clinical perfusionist. Today, Brother Ravi considers it a divine blessing to share with all of us the profound memories, learnings, and insights he gained through his time with Swami. Please join me in extending a warm welcome to Brother Ravi Mariwala, whose words are sure to inspire and uplift our spiritual journey. Sairam.
Om Shri Sai Ram. Pranams at Bhagwan's lotus feet. Thank you for the opportunity to be with you all, though remotely. But thank you for allowing me to worship Bhagwan along with you. I just want to do a quick check. Are you able to hear me and see me clearly?
Yes, brother, we can hear you and see you.
Great. Thank you so much. If you can switch the view so I can see people, that'll be great. Otherwise, it's okay. I know there are a lot of limitations of the way we arrange this, but is it possible for you to? Right now, I'm looking at the slide, but if it's possible for me to see the people, that's great. Otherwise, it's all right.
We are just working on it. Just give us a second.
Sure. Yeah. So I'll get started. Sister, thank you for that introduction. Amongst other things, and all the credit that is given to us as individuals. I don't know how much of that really belongs to me, but one thing that definitely comes out from that introduction, I have to make sure that I change it, is my age, right? Because when you all hear that this guy's mission, this guy's life and association with Bhagwan started way back in 79, that tells you a lot about my age. But age is not something you can really hide. And I think what is more important is that that openness, that transparency, and that trust, which is what makes us come together in that spirit of sharing, right? So many of you have gathered there to spend time in the recollection of Bhagwan, right? That recollection goes much beyond any individual's individual experiences and narration of events. And over the years that I have listened to other speakers and had the opportunity to share my own thoughts and experiences, I always try to play down the detail, right? Because that detail is way back in the even in the previous 30, 40, 50 years. Does that detail matter? Right? And what matters is that we don't cover up the glory and the teachings and the message of this great advent that we happen to see firsthand, right? Time will show that there are only a few people left on earth who had the blessing of that tremendous experience that was available for a short window of time, right? In the millennium that Earth has experienced, when did human beings at this scale get an opportunity to not just behold, not just read about, but to be in the presence of one that is so different from every other human being, right? And Bhagwan was as powerful as he was compassionate. He was as loving as he was focused on his mission. And it is that magnetism, it is that power, it is that compassion in the tiny human frame that he adopted that makes us marvel. But it's not enough for us to keep on marveling at the fact that these three avatars, like you just chanted, Shirdi Vasaya Vidmahe, right? You said beautifully. So it is this triune this triple avatar that Earth is in the process of witnessing. We are in that time period when the Shirdi avatar and the Satya Sai avatar have completed their sojourns. And it is not it is something that is totally beyond imagination and also beyond our control as human beings. So we gather here to perform a task that is much beyond our puny considerations, our little human considerations. Oftentimes, we are so centered in ourselves that if we have a worldview that emerges from our own limited understanding. And that's what I'm here to tell you, that in the presence of Swami, the students who were fortunate enough to be called and who responded to that call, were really blessed because they got to experience something totally extraordinary. And the only way you can understand what does that word extraordinary entail. For that, you have to go and read the lives of Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa and what Vivekanand and Brahmanand, Shivanand, and others experienced. For that, you have to go and read in detail the life of Shirdi Sai to understand what is it that these Sai students who were around Bhagwan in the late 60s, the 70s, the 80s, and the 90s, really experienced. And it is marvelous, it is glorious, it is enjoyable, it is also fun. It is not as if we spend a very serious time around Swami's way of teaching was full of fun and thought-provoking inputs that he constantly provided. But the one thing that I'll tell you, that it was not just his words, his teachings, and his, sometimes he would admonish us. It went much beyond that, brothers and sisters. And over these 1.5 decades that I have been outside the ashram, I have come to understand that Bhagwan's presence is something very special. At that time, our focus was around his body. And imagine the vibrant Sai, how he must have been, right? He was everywhere. He was driving force of activities in Parthi. He was an institution builder. He was transforming individuals. But more than just the impact of his body, I want to remind you about the impact of his consciousness, the impact of his presence. And and I want to also make this as an opportunity for you to delve deeper, right? Yes, you can hear about a lot of my personal experiences, but the time is short. So what I've learned to do is, because the time is so short, I just compress some of my personal experiences, but I want to give enough time for us to go deeper into what matters to you, right? What are you going to gain by hearing that I spoke in Swami's presence in 79 and 82? For a second, you may say, oh wow, and then it's lost, right? But what is it that you, as a group of people, what is it that you, as individuals sitting there, would really like to take away that you can build upon? How can we all, as a group of devoted Sai people, go closer to him? What is the meaning of going closer to Swami? Where is Swami today? And what would he expect from us? Right? So I'm going to spend time on the first part, which is my experiences, but quickly tell you that I was a slow learner. And I want to tell you that, remind you that don't make those mistakes that I made. Move faster than I moved. And finally, I want to tell you about the parallelism between our external journeys and the internal journey that Swami has put me on that path. So, with that, I will share a few slides just to make it a little bit easy for you to digest what I'm right. So, I'll start with this slide, which is a beautiful reminder to me about how much grace Bhagwan gave me in my own life. right? You can see this SSC student, these black and white pictures have their own value, right? And you can see, brothers, sisters, this is how we recount and value history. Imagine the blessedness, imagine the honor of being able to garland Bhagwan. Even that honor, I had a chance to speak in Swami's presence on numerous occasions later, but all we could do was give Swami a rose in his hand. But this stands out in my memory and as a historical, chance that Swami gave us to get closer to that divinity, and you can see how he is accepting that garland.
Sairam, brother.
And yes.
Sorry to interrupt you, but we don't see your sharing. I don't know if it's the right
Okay. It says your sharing is paused. Okay. Let me just stop and thank you for it. Don't worry about interrupting. Please do that. I spoke recently in the San Diego Center. There also there were some problems, so don't hesitate. Can you see it now?
Yes.
Yes, we can see it now. Yeah.
But just hold on. When I make it full screen, tell me if you continue to see it or is it vanishing? Is it still there? Can you still see it?
We can see the slides, but it's not in full screen though.
Oh, I see. I made it full screen here.
No, presentation.
Okay, 1 second. Okay, now are you able to see it?
We see your slides, brother.
But it's not in full screen. Now is it in full screen?
It's coming slowly.
It's slowly.
Slowly. Internet.
Is it in full screen now?
No.
Okay.
Can we just walk through the slides like these, or?
Yeah, that's okay. That's okay. Yeah, that's fine. So these
close
are.
the taskbar on the left, so I can see it.
Sorry?
You can close the taskbar on the left and expand the videos or expand the slides so we can see it a little bigger than what
Yeah, I do that. I can do that. Yeah. Should be a little bit better now. I'll increase this also. Okay.
Yeah.
So these are those beautiful memories, right? Now, of course, like I said, you're able to figure out my age, but once upon a time I was young too. So you can see, brothers, sisters, see the value of our experience sharing. What is it, right? It is not about an individual. You can see the blessing that Bhagwan was giving to thousands of seekers. Though I didn't know it, I was a seeker. And you can see the way Bhagwan is looking at me. It is that look of Bhagwan, it is that grace that was flowing from him. And he made me sit, he materialized Vibhuti. You can see that footstool. It had, in the early days, it had very pointed edges. And Swami guided me so that I wouldn't hurt my forehead as I bowed to his feet. After materializing Vibhuti, he made me sit at his side. And that's when I requested him, I asked him if I could come and join his college. And this was more than a private interview, and so many things he told me on the stage, which later on came out to be true. But I'm just going to move you forward. This is just sort of, I like to use this as a credentialing slide, right? So that people really know that, the person who's speaking really had this contact with Swami. I'm just kidding. But brothers, sisters, over the years, we got so many opportunities. You can see how Bhagwan regaled us. He gave us opportunities to act in dramas, in plays, and these are just still pictures, but you don't know the amount of time he spent with us during each of these rehearsals. Swami would come and spend hours literally talking with us, inspiring us. and elevating our consciousness. In the picture below, you can see that after a game of soccer, we had perspiration falling from our bodies, and Bhagwan, allowed us to gather around him so close. In both of these pictures, I'll point out to myself so that you can see the little Ravi, right? I had no idea that through these interactions, through this grace that Swami was giving, there was a much deeper lesson he was driving. There is a much deeper contact when he was wanting to build than just these memories arising from these physical events. These are just other pictures where you can see how much Swami loved to spend time despite his many responsibilities. He would walk amongst us. We had these delicious dinners when Swami would, come to the hostel. And Swami came to the hostel on numerous occasions. We would perform before him. He would sit on the jhula. We would get opportunities to sing in front of him. And in this picture on the right, you can see how Swami is himself tying the headband for a dancer. Right? But I want to tell you that during these interactions, the one thing that happened to all of us, not just me, was that we learned that it is not about us. Our lives, our careers, our career prospects, our desire to go to a good college, all of those took secondary status to what we were seeing, right? We were ourselves undergoing this individual transformation that you see here on the right. This is a picture of Sudha Raghunathan, who, while traveling in the car as a small kid away from Puttaparthi, became unresponsive and unconscious. And the whole incident that happened around this event led to the creation of that Ashtotar Namavali of Swami, which says Jodi Adi Palli Somapaya Nama. Right? So I got to see, I'll tell you one quick incident. Narayan Sharma, who was doing his PhD, fell ill. He was an asthmatic, and Swami, he was admitted in the general hospital. Swami came to the hospital, materialized a toffee for him, and asked him to get up, and told many of the students that Narayan Sharma would not have made it. So we got to see firsthand incredible miracles, but which were not heralded or given, the space of a sensational event. Miracles happened around Swami as if they were everyday and commonplace events. I saw Swami tap the knees of an old lady who was waiting for an interview and make her walk. And I had so much doubt that really is, there are a lot of people who sit in wheelchairs but who are not actually unable to walk. So later on, I found out that that was the grandmother of one of my hostel students. And I went and asked him, and he said, no, my grandmother has been paralyzed for 21 years. So around Swami, the miraculous was common. And believe me, that is a big challenge. When you see Vibhuti being created 9, 10 times a day, when you see Swami creating many objects, changing and transmuting many objects, you start to become familiar with such miracles. And it's very difficult to sort of pinch yourself and keep yourself aware and appreciative of the fact that these miracles are great things that are happening. In the middle, you can see this picture of the temples of healing. And I was so fortunate to be one of the chosen and blessed people whom Swami appointed as the first staff members of this hospital. And finally, the epic events that you can see Professor Kasturi holding that empty pot from which heaps and mounds of vibhuti were falling and anointing the image of Shirdi Sai. So during our stay in the hostel, we got this package, right? It was not just chemistry, physics, biology, mathematics, and English that we were studying. Swami was giving us an infusion and an insight, a first hand view of how he was transforming individuals, including ourselves, how he was building institutions that would rock the world because there was no precedent of such institutions having been built where totally free treatment was being given. I'll talk more about that if time permits. But at the root and the heart of all these experiences were the fact that these epic events were happening and they were correlated with the fact that Swami is a divine being who had manifested in a human form. I hope it is not becoming too much for you, but I am moving to certain very personal incidents that I had an opportunity to participate and partake in. You can see how, as even here in the US, you participate in a brass band. I am here playing the clarinet, and so many beautiful interactions happened as part of the brass band. We had an opportunity to accompany no less a person, a great musician than Maynard Ferguson, who visited Swami and who played during Christmas and New Year. But so many other fun events happened. Swami would drive to the Hillview Stadium and ask us to play, and it's not as if we were always good at the music, but Swami would sometimes say to us when we were not able to hit the right pitch. Swami would say, I'm lucky I have a lot of hair around my ears, so all your upper shruti is okay, I can tolerate it, but practice more. And when he got us these beautiful band dresses stitched, he came to the Purnachandra auditorium, and you won't believe it. We had the tailors sitting there and stitching these dresses. They were stitching these epaulets, these various decorative pieces, and we were trying on. We would go backstage in the Purnachandra auditorium, right, which is the place where we worship Bhagwan, and we would go into a green room there, put on the dresses, and come before Swami as if we were coming in front of him to show him and for him to look at the whether the band dress was made in a way that it fitted us well or not. And you should have seen Bhagwan. He said to one of us, "Oh, this dress, your pants are so loose that they look like Sai Gita's ears flapping." To another person, he said, "Oh, you look, the fitting is so good. You can go and give darshan outside, and people will, think that you're so well dressed." To another person, he said, "You better pull up your pant, otherwise you're going to drag up all the dust of the Purnachandra auditorium." That pant was so loose. So on the one hand, we got to experience Bhagwan, the Lord, Bhagwan the teacher, Bhagwan the avatar. On the other hand, we had that time with Bhagwan where we could just relax, where we could hear his jokes, where he was, pulling our legs, and we got oriented to Bhagwan in such a way that the distance between the students and Swami was not there. In the middle, you can see how Swami, and this is just a sample, right? There are thousands of students who had a similar experience. You can see how he blessed me and my parents. And this blessing extended to their health, to their well being, to their work life. My sister here on the right has been a teacher in the primary school. Swami appointed her in 1993, and she's so blessed. She continues to live there along with my mother, and she continues to serve in Swami's primary school as a teacher. On the left, you can see this picture where I'm kneeling before Bhagwan. This is such a odd circumstances. I want to tell you about it. Swami, with the flick of an eyebrow, he would gesture to to us, telling us that we had to speak. So we were seated in the in there was a separate building called the Kalyan Mandapam, which you can't see in this picture in Vrindavan. And I had come from Puttaparthi to Vrindavan in Whitefield, and I was deeply engrossed in doing bhajan and clapping. And when I opened my eyes to look at Swami, who was seated there, Swami did with a flick of his eye, he said, "You speak next." It was all non-verbal cues that we had to pick up. And instead of continuing to clap and sing and be involved in the bhajan, that whole fervor broke for me because now I knew that I had to go and stand in Swami's presence and speak and make some sense out of it for all the devotees. And I had no idea what I would be saying because I was so deeply engrossed in bhajan. And now all of a sudden I had to go and speak. And we were in fact rebellious that Swami, why can't you let us enjoy the bhajan? And now why do I need to go and say something? I don't know what to speak. I'm not prepared. But I remember in that talk, I said something which Swami liked. I said, we should be chips of the old block. And I said, we should have character, confidence. And I made 5 C's. And I was surprised. Swami himself started applauding me. And of course, taking the cue from Swami, everybody in the audience started applauding. And as a blessing and a gift and a reward, after my talk, Swami asked me to walk with him. As Swami was going back to his residence, these are the bird cages you can see, and to the a little distance away was Swami's Trai Vrindavan. And Swami asked me to walk along with him. Now, I was all of 26, 27 years doing my MBA, and imagine the unexpectedness of that gift, that reward, to be able to walk with Swami as he headed back to his residence. And at this moment that you see the picture has been taken, Swami turned around and asked me, "Who are you?" Now, was it that Swami didn't know that I am that same student who he asked to speak? He knew me by name. He would often call me for short, Mari, instead of saying my whole last name. He would often say, "Kya da Mari?" So he knew my name was Mari. Why did he ask me that question? Who are you? And we'll come to that later. But, brothers and sisters, I just want to tell you that Swami, the avatar, while giving us these beautiful opportunities, while blessing our families, while giving me the gold medal in this picture, while allowing me to take this individual picture that you see on the upper right in Kodaikanal. What a memory to spend those 30, 35 days, 9 to 12 hours a day we would spend in Bhagwan's presence. And here at the bottom, you see in Parthi, one day I came from the hospital and Swami saw me and said, "Hey, come on, boy, tell the boys here about your experience working in the hospital." And I was not prepared. And that's what you see in these pictures. But let me move you on to something that is the thread between all of these things that you see. And in this picture, you can see that after my MBA, which I finished in 1991, Swami announced the opening of his hospital. And then he asked me if I would work in the hospital. And all of a sudden, I, who had complete devotion to Swami and who felt that, my life was to be dedicated to being around Swami, to working for Swami, I started hesitating because of the fact that I was doing an MBA. And I felt, oh, what would an MBA do in a hospital? And I started to hesitate. And it was at that time that Swami sent Professor Nanjundeya to call me out. I was in an MBA class, and he said, "Swami wants to know today from you whether you are willing to commit to working in the hospital." And I went with much trepidation. I went to the mandir in the evening. And when I went there, Mr. Khayal Das, who used to look after the mandir in the interview room, he said, Swami is waiting for you. And that made me panic even more because now I knew that Swami was waiting in the interview room alone. And then when I went in, I folded my hands. Swami said, Come, come. And I stood there before Swami. And Swami says, क्या सोचा? Are you हमारे हॉस्पिटल में काम करेगा? Will you work in my hospital? And I said, I didn't know what to say. That absurd worldliness that was arising in me due to the fact that I was doing an MBA and I would wanted to be a commercial manager made me hesitate. And at that point, brothers and sisters, the grace flowed out of Swami on me and changed my life. Swami said, these are his words. हमारा आज्ञा है हॉस्पिटल में काम करो गुड फॉर यू गुड फॉर योर पेरेंट्स गुड फॉर द वर्ल्ड हमारा आज्ञा है आज्ञा in Hindi means my wish my command and then he added it is good for you good for your parents good for the world now brothers sisters go to think about it how I did not contribute anything so great to the hospital. I worked as a clinical perfusionist. There were many Sai students, both nurses and technicians like me who worked there. And these are some of the mysteries that we will never be able to answer. Us give up our worldliness, give up our selfishness, give up our personal ambition and to come to his feet and to serve him. Now I'm going to play a trick on you, right? I made it serious. I told you about these three milestones in my life, but I'm going to play a trick on you. Be ready for it. Okay? So now, at this point where you see me having this opportunity to speak in Bhagwan's presence, I was like an external person who was just coming to Swami out of curiosity. Yes, I was changing from a Bombay boy because of those SSC gurus who inspired me. And yes, I was attracted, but by no means was I attached to Swami. In the second picture that I showed you, where I give you numerous examples of how Swami invested his time not just in shaping me and transforming me, but in shaping and transforming so many students and devotees. What happened to me? I went from being merely attracted and curious to becoming deeply attached. But still, there was distance to cover. There was still some narrowing to happen. There was still something to be achieved. And that is what you see over here. Attracted, attached, and committed. Swami taught me that it's not enough to choose to be a Sai student and to be there to live a simple life, but to take the next step in showing my commitment because we all start as external people who are sort of standing there observing what is happening curious but not wanting to becoming an insider. I had moved from being a Valvika student to getting attached to Swami. 9 years I spent in the college, serving there, learning Vedam, serving in the canteen, working in the band, becoming a speaker, doing well in my studies. But I was still not committed. I was not willing to place my ambition, my desires as secondary. Those were becoming primary. And it was when I said, yes, I will not go commercial and work after my MBA. I will commit myself to Bhagwan. And that is the three steps that I want to tell you about that we need to move from being merely attracted to Swami as outsiders to being attached to him. What is the meaning of that attachment? It means that you have internalized his message. You align with what he's saying. You're not just sitting there and judging what he's saying. You feel that yes, Satya Dharma Shanti Prema should be the way of your living. But still, unless you commit and put your own ambitions down, put your own desires as secondary, you haven't made covered the distance, right? So this is in a nutshell what I wanted to communicate to you, that this is my journey. And ask yourself, where are you in this paradigm? Are you merely attracted to Satya Sai Baba? Are you sensing what is happening? Are you awakening to the reality of Sai? Are you attached to Sai? And in the process of becoming attached to Sai and understanding what he wants, one tends to become one pointed. But that action, taking action, is all about the next step, which is inner alignment. And as Swami said, he used to do like this and say, all of you, he used to say, Sankuchit Prema. You have narrow love. And he used to come out of the interview room and say, all of you are contraction love. And he used to say, I have expansion love. Right? So by putting your own desires down, even for some time, I was able to put my desires, make them secondary for about 14 years. Right? And I was able to serve. I never knew where my salary was being deposited. I never knew even if my salary was coming every month. Of course, Swami was sending us salary. I never knew that I have a provident fund. I was getting I just worked thinking that my commitment to Swami is my reward. It's not that my commitment to Swami should give me some reward. I felt like my commitment to Swami is the reward of my life. And yet, brothers and sisters, this journey that I undertook, which I'm summarizing for you now, by no means am I trying to boast or highlight my personal achievements, because it is ridiculous to talk in terms of your personal achievements. All of these experiences, these interactions were given as grace. They are not given, when you go to a restaurant, you give a tip, right? I always consider that all these experiences that I had were a tip. They were gratuity that Bhagwan bestowed on me and my family, and probably if the other students think that way, to them too. But brothers and sisters, I want to not just stop with the fact that we have to move from merely being bystanders and outsiders and to be attached to Swami and his mission and his work and his teachings, and then to act on that. But there is still a further step to be taken. And what is that step? I'll tell you what that step is now based on what I am learning, and see if that makes sense to you. See if you like that message. See if that propels you to more action than you are taking merely by doing Omkar and bhajans and looking at Swami's photo. What else is that journey that I'm talking about beyond going from attraction to action? Look at this. There was a student who went into the interview room, and when he entered, instead of saying, Swami would say when you enter the interview room, in Samacharam, what news? And you would tell Swami, something, you would give some news about the hostel or the college, or Swami said instead, how long will you go behind this body of mine? I'm reading out from here. These are quotations, I am not making this up. Swami thundered, how long will you go behind this body of mine? How long will you cage me in this physical body? Learn to see the unseen force that is driving this body itself. And at that time, like most of us do, right? What do we do as devotees? We constantly abdicate our responsibility. Look at the bhajans we make, right? We say, Remind me, my Lord, remind me, my Lord. Oh, so now Sai Baba has taken the avatar, he established Puttaparthi, and now you are also pinning the responsibility for you remaining aware about Sai. Remind me, my Lord. Oh, so Swami should come and pinch you and say, hey, Ravi Mariwala, I give you interviews, I cured your dad of heart disease, I give you MBA seat, I give you special grace by asking you to join the college, the hospital. Now, please don't dream and lose the chance. Here, Sai Baba is waiting to remind you also that the avatar here and time is passing. And that is the stunning and awakening message of this slide. The student was now by now stunned and surprised. And what did he do? Like we all say, oh Swami, please give me grace. Please keep my mind clean. Oh, Swami should keep our mind clean. What is our job then? We can go and watch a crime serial, and after that, we go to our altar and say, Swami, you know what? Please, please keep my mind clean. And I'll tell you why I find this funny. Because I made the same mistake. Whenever after an interview, we got blessed to have so many interviews, brothers and sisters. Swami would ask us, when we got up after touching his feet, say, what do you want? And we would say, I learned over time. Swami, please bless me with bhakti. Next interview I got, Swami, please, Shraddha. Third interview, Swami, please give me Bhakti, Shraddha, and Mukti. So, are we saying that just because you got the opportunity to have access to this great Lord, you can now demand and it shall be given? Not at all. And I'm telling you, brothers and sisters, I have asked for Bhakti, Shraddha, and Mukti physically from Swami so many times. I have not been given Bhakti, Shraddha and Mukti. Why? Because Bhakti, Shraddha and Mukti are not what I imagine it to be. And that is the message here. So in this, when Swami admonishes this student, he again reverts back to pin the responsibility on Bhagwan and says, please tell me the secret of connecting to you through the unmanifest, the unseen and eternal. Now, why am I bringing this up to your attention, brothers and sisters? You are all alert, conscious, wonderful individuals. We need to self-awaken. Swami has given us all the equipment, all the knowledge, all the inspiration, but we are not acting, we are abdicating. And look at Bhagwan's message here. All my life, I have been telling you only this, and you still ask me this question again. The only way, the simplest way, the most beautiful way for a devotee to connect to this unseen power, the eternal power of divinity, is love. Now, why is it that you and me are not just able to spring up and say, I have love and I'm realized? And I'll tell you what is coming in the way, which I think is more important than showing you my band photos and my pictures in Kodaikanal, which are also good. And they revive those memories in my heart and the love. But brothers, this is what Swami wants us to do. And I'm going to quickly chant this to you. Tesham satatam yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam yena mam upayanti te. In this 10th verse of the 10th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, what does Sri Krishna say? To those whose minds are always united with me in loving devotion, I give the divine knowledge by which they can attain me. Through our association with Bhagwan over these decades, we have learned to take this step of cultivating and practicing loving devotion. But what is coming in the way of our constantly practicing this loving devotion? This is the real summary of what I want to share with you today. Our journeys have been external. When you close your eyes, when you look within, you are flooded with thoughts. We are not able to practice that loving devotion because internally, because of the external movement of our senses, because of the collection of memories, because of the constant analysis that our minds are engaged in, our thoughts, which are stray, individual, arbitrary things, are becoming congealed and taking hold as desires. These desires are becoming the solidified or consolidated mind, which has become a force. Now, in Swami gave 6,000 discourses. Only in one point of time where he wrote in Vidya Vahini in chapter 18, Swami mentioned that the mind has two defining activities: alochana or planning, which is harmless, but manasika sambhashana or the inner dialogue. This inner dialogue, which in English, in psychiatry and psychology, is called inner talk, this constant inner dialogue, inner chatter, prevents us from accessing that fountain of loving devotion which can take us to that level of consciousness or psi consciousness that we want to achieve. So, if you want to make this outer journey into the inner journey, if you want to first embark on that journey, again you have to go through attraction, attachment, and it will end in constant integrated awareness. But for that, you have we now, all of us, it's been 12 years since I left the body. We have to tune in to the inner side. But why? Why can't we tune into the inner side? Because of that manasika sambhashana, that inner chatter which is arising due to our turning our minds outside, that inner chatter due to something your boss says, due to some failure in a presentation, due to some unexpected development in the family, our minds are forced to dwell on that inner chatter. That inner chatter is so all-consuming that it prevents us from being attached to our inner side. And if we really want to move from the outer side to the inner side consciousness, the same outer journey that we undertook, that I undertook, that you probably undertook in being bystanders and merely being attracted to Swami, but coming in, becoming a Sai student, experiencing Swami firsthand, becoming attached to Swami, we have to invest our time in that inner journey. Brothers, sisters, that is not easy. You don't know what confronts you. When you sit to meditate, your thoughts throw a party. There is a party of thoughts that awakens when you close your eyes. All unfinished thoughts, half completed thoughts arise in your mind. And it is not as if you have to visualize Bhagwan's form or chant the mantra. We have to, each one of us, discover what is it that Swami meant when he said, don't cage me in this body. Find me within. What are we going to find within? Have we invested time in building up our resources for that inner journey? Because constant integrated awareness, that is the summum bonum, that is the peak, that is the summit of our inner journey. And none of us embarked on this journey only to walk the outer journey. All of us have a contact with Bhagwan probably many lifetimes back, where we said, Swami, please take me to self-realization. And that is why, as kids, when we used to be in the interview room with Swami, sometimes we couldn't follow what Swami was saying. It was so abstruse and abstract. But one thing, when we would come out of the interview room, we would share our notes and say, I counted Swami used the word Atma 29 times. Another student would say, no, 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 you must have slept off in the middle. Swami actually said Atma 35 times. So, why was Swami repeating the word Atma to us so much? We must have entered into a contact with Bhagwan that we forge our inner journey. So, I want to inspire all of you, brothers and sisters, that don't just limit Sai to these beautiful but limited memories. Yes, these are awesome memories. They are reviving the Sai form. They are reviving the glory of Sai, his unselfishness, how he made time for the whole world, how he invested in inspiring individuals. But don't limit Swami only to inspiring individuals. Don't limit Swami to being an institution builder. Yes, for us human beings, one hospital, two hospitals are great, but even that is not enough for you to be fully appreciated of the power of this avatar. The power of this avatar is the Sai consciousness that is ablaze, that is ringing, that is resounding within your hearts. And what would please Swami is if each one of us examines the process by which thoughts become desires and become solidified as the mind. Swami would be delighted. In one interview, Swami spoke about the mind for 45 minutes. I was pressing Swami's feet and I was thoroughly confused because Swami spoke about the fact that there is no such thing as mind control. And I said, Swami, how can it be there is no such thing as mind control? And you know what Swami said? There is only sense control. And then on the other extreme, there is mano nashana or destruction of the mind. But I was still not satisfied. This was a class interview, so we were all, third year undergrad students. And Swami gave us a lot of freedom, provided the doubt was sincere. And I said, Swami, I'm still very confused. You're saying sense control will limit the functioning of the mind and prevent you from dragging it down. But on the other hand, you're saying Manonashana. Swami, I'm confused. You know what Bhagwan did? That is the beauty of this divine teacher. He leaned forward. I was hardly 1.5, 2 feet away from Swami. And he touched my spectacles. Unfortunately, it's not this spectacle pair. And he said, Ravi, why do you wear these specs? And I said, Swami, because my vision needs correction. He said, exactly. Until your vision needs correction, you need the mind. Once your vision is corrected, you have associated yourself with the divine. You can throw away those specs. So you don't need the mind. So that is the beauty which Swami explained what is Manonashana. Manonashana or destruction of the mind, which is constantly coming in the way of us realizing our divinity, which you see described in this slide, right? Where we see some very innocent thoughts, but they become desires. And those innocent thoughts become memories, they become mind, and that mind throws itself up at unopportune moments and traps us. But brothers, sisters, Swami wanted that as Sai devotees, we go beyond just the simple worship of his form to asking the question, where is Swami today within me? How am I to find the Sai consciousness within me? And we probably have to make the same journey of first being attracted to the inner Sai. We are attracted to the outer side. You can see behind me bigger than life size picture of Bhagwan we worship in all our houses. But this, we have to understand the parallelism between our outer journeys and how Swami wants us to use that experience that we gained with him in the outer relationship and be attracted as the first step to the inner side. Develop attachment to the inner process of recognizing and realizing Swami within, and finally attain that constant integrated awareness. When you and I have invested time, then the grace will fall on us. And as I described to you in that beautiful verse of the Gita, right? To those whose minds are always united with me in loving devotion, I will give the divine knowledge by which they can attain me. So instead of, I also love the bhajan, Remind Me, My Lord. It is very beautiful. But every time I hear it, I feel that Swami, we are putting more and more burden on you and we are abdicating all our responsibility. So I want us to awaken to the fact that our external journey is replaying in our internal binding with Swami, in our inner search for Bhagwan. And brothers and sisters, I hope I could carry you all with me. It is very difficult, as it is, what I was trying to say is difficult to communicate. And then the fact that we are remote and I could not be there in person. I hope and pray that Swami guides you to feel as inspired as I am about this inner journey, because our lives are short. Yes, I was blessed to spend those 23 years in Bhagwan's presence. But you know what it tells me about myself? While all of you are appreciating that I spent a quarter century, I am dismayed at the fact that it took me a half century to recognize the fact that the outer journey is merely a blueprint for my inner journey. I wish I had realized that much earlier on. Don't make the same mistake as I made. I rejoiced that I was in Swami's presence. I lived in Swami's residence for some time. And I rejoiced thinking that I had attained Sai. But in fact, I have yet to attain the true Sai. And while we love Swami's form and we worship the ground that he walked on, that hallowed ground where Swami lives today is in your own temple, in your own sacred space within your body. And that Sai is accessible to us all the time. And that is the message to which he really wants us to awaken. So I'm hoping that I did not bore you, but I was still able to hold your attention, because it's important, right? If we can't even pay attention, how can we communicate such difficult ideas? But I pray to Swami that, his life and his teachings and the worship that is more than due to him on his birthday, we give thanks to him that we were amongst the few people on this earth who had direct experience of his life for years, right? There are people who saw him for once or twice. We are lucky. Many of you also have seen him, been in the interview room. So we give a lot of gratitude to Bhagwan for having blessed us thus. But we cannot rest on those achievements. The true achievement is the constant integrated awareness which we have to find within us. With those words, I want to thank you for having me and for listening to me. And I pray to Bhagwan that he shines in your heart and helps you recognize that constant integrated awareness. Jai Sai.
Sayam, Brother Ravi, thank you so much for a beautiful talk. We, despite the distance and the virtual nature of the presentation, we wanted to let you know that you connected with all of us directly, letting us know how important the inner journey is and sharing with all of us, your outer journey. I'm reminded a little bit about your job as a clinical perfusionist. For those of you who don't know, it's the silent person who's sitting on the side during a cardiac surgery, making sure that all of the blood from the patient gets oxygen while the heart surgeon does the work on the heart. And so in a similar way, you're like a spiritual perfusionist. While Swami works on our heart, you give us these stories, you and all the other students who had direct experience of Swami, infusing our hearts with love and devotion while Swami does the work to install himself in our hearts.
Very good.